Why do you hate Freely the Banana Girls? Everyone's asking me. I've had 16 peaches since yesterday, and I'm telling you, these peaches do not exist in nature.
Why would we hate? I don't hate Freely.
But anyway, let's get into 80-10-10. So explain to us exactly what it is. We're talking about 80-10-10.
Yeah.
80% fruits.
Well, carbs. We got to define it because, just like vegan can mean a lot of things, 80-10-10 can mean a lot of things, right? It tends to mean, if you look at social media and YouTube, it tends to mean fruit, 80% fruit, but it could mean 80% carbs in many ways.
Since our last video that we did, the long-form podcast video, I'm getting so many questions about Freely the Banana Girl.
Oh.
Why do you hate Freely the Banana Girls? Everyone's asking me. I'm like, I never said I hated her.
Why would we hate? I don't hate Freely. You didn't say you hated Freely.
No, I mean, I don't love the way she gets views on her videos, but whatever.
I think I have a lot of parallels to Freely and Durian Rider in approach and philosophy. Other than some of the diet stuff, just it's a head scratcher for me. But
definitely not in delivery.
No, delivery is a little different too. But see, I kind of appreciate that. I know that there's been some little wars between them and other people, and it's been borderline nasty, some of it. I think it's good though. Look, we have the internet; it's a public forum for people to mix it up a little bit. I don't know if I'd say the same thing if I were at the receiving end of some of that, but I'd probably just have some fun with it. But
it's entertainment.
It's entertainment for sure.
It's YouTube, and
it's like the Howard Stern of the raw food world. Somebody's got to just. They say what they want to say unfiltered. I'm not opposed to that.
And they are at war with the raw food world with Matt Monarch. That was some fun stuff. But anyway, let's get into 80-10-10. So explain to us exactly what it is. According to the man who created 80-10-10. So we're not going to get into what everyone else thinks it is or makes up that it is.
Right. Dr. Douglas Graham created the 80-10-10 diet. He came from a fruit-based or a high fruit-based raw food background. I've known him for a long time. Haven't seen him for years. I mean, I really only met him once or twice when he was doing tours in New York, and that was like 15 years ago. But he, he was one of the early pioneers of that, and he had a certain angle on it. And he was into eating a lot of fruit, and then eventually came out with his 80-10-10 program. He says that he works with athletes on that. And if it's 80% carbs, 10% protein, and 10% fats, that's fine. That's not such a bad thing. It's okay to eat a low-fat diet, but really everybody needs to feel into what they need. I know people that have done very well on that. But defining what that it's really the 80% that we're concerned about. Because most people, if they're eating something where they're breaking up percentages or they're reading about 80-10-10 or raw foods and things, they generally make good food choices. Like people aren't going to eat, 80% Twinkies and, no, they're eating, good things. So, the fats and the protein are generally nuts and seeds or things like that. That's usually what people are eating, good fats and avocados and stuff like that. But it's that 80% that's the most controversial part. And
well, it's the part that's going to make you fat, according to a lot of the comments that I've gotten on videos. When people see how much fruit that I eat, I'm not on an 80-10-10 diet, but I probably eat more fruit than anything. It's the highest. Carbs are the biggest part of my diet for sure.
Yeah, mine too, I would say. I do eat a lot of fruit. I'm a big fruit fan. I do eat some sweet potatoes now and again, once every couple of months and stuff. I eat steamed vegetables. I'll eat carrots, carby vegetables. So I get a lot of my calories from that too. The getting fat on fruit or getting fat on carbs, that is generally all food combining stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're not going to get into food combining again.
No, but that's what that is.
We have other videos for that. Yeah, we have lots of food combining videos that people can refer to.
Freely and Durian Rider, the biggest like sort of 80-10-10 people, which have now departed into some weird wow, there's people running around on the roof, they've now departed into some odd cooked food thing that I have all sorts of opinions about as a practitioner. everybody I know that food combines and might eat a lot of carbs and things like that, they look like them. They look skinny, or they might not be as skinny as them, but they look fit and they look thin. A lot of the people that do that, I don't know a lot of people.
I wouldn't describe them as skinny at all because they are very fit and they do have lots of muscle mass. They look good.
Yeah.
Which could also be a little bit genetic or a lot genetic. Doesn't necessarily have everything to do with nutrition.
Well, look, if you look at Freely, she was when she was eating whatever she was eating, she was very puffy and pasty. Durian Rider, I think, was semi-athletic before we got into this. But everybody I've seen eat that way does not gain weight, except for the people that try to mix fruit into the diets when they have their cheat days and they have things. People that are consistently eating high-carb diets, including grains, lots of vegetables and things like that, they don't get fat, especially not from eating fruit.
When you're doing 80-10-10, though, how are you getting enough B12 or iron or,
Well, these were the issues, okay?
The fats that we need for brain building and brain function and all that when it's such a small portion of your diet?
I sort of link fruitarianism and 80-10-10 together because they sort of tend to go that way, even though we said, like, you can eat different carbs. You can eat complex carbs and be on 80-10-10. But those are the issues that had come up there are a couple of issues because eating high fruit diets and high carb diets and low fat diets has gone on since way before I ever got into this. Dr. Bishop was getting into this in the 60s and 70s with people. And the first guy that ever told him about that was eating high fruit. I think he was a fruitarian. And the guy, his skin looked great. He said his eyes were white and clear. He said, but the guy had no teeth. All his teeth had fallen out. And that's happened to a lot of people long-term on fruit. However, from what I understand and from what Dr. Bishop has said, and from the reading I've done, the more athletic you are, the more fruit sugar you can handle. Fruit in a sedentary body is a disaster. And it starts to demineralize people because it ferments in the gut and it ferments in the blood. Okay, and so the more athletic you are, the more fruit sugar you're burning very quickly, and you're not having stagnating sugars fermenting inside of your body. When sugars stagnate and ferment in your body, they create acid, and your body has to create a buffer system, and it pulls it out of your bones and your teeth. So,
but this is what we keep talking about. Like every single time we bring up one of these diets, there's so many variables that can make or break you when you're following any kind of diet. So does it have to be this complicated? Because that's a question I get. Like, why does it have to be so complicated that I have to work out all these percentages, or why do I have to worry about food that's dangerous for me or not dangerous for me? Why can't I just eat what I'm craving or what I'm desiring at that moment and that be what is, right for my body? Because I don't count stuff. I just eat what I like. I feel really good. I think I look pretty good. Where does intuitive eating come into this?
It comes in. Well, there's a couple of things with this. When we're discussing things like 80-10-10 and stuff like that, what I've sort of focused on in my response to you is the high fruit intake part of it. Okay? That's unnatural. That's why we're talking about things that could go wrong. We talked about bone demineralization. We talked about B12. It takes a long time for those things to happen is what I wanted to add. So, people that do that, that are eating that diet, generally are young. A lot of them are athletic, and a lot of them are, and it's serving them well because it's not all these bacon cheeseburgers and crap and all that. They're eating good, clean food that's cleaning their tissue and moving through their body quickly. But these little things like these pH imbalances that could be happening or a B12 deficiency, they take a long time to happen. Dr. Bishop told me a story last week about another guy, old school guy, too much fruit, and the guy just wouldn't take a B12 shot or a B12 supplement because he was a purist. He was a natural hygienist, and the guy was like shaking and like his nervous system. The guy still wouldn't get it through his head. I think the guy died. This is many, many years ago. But it takes a long time for these things to develop. And a lot of people have not been doing them that long. They've not been doing them that long. And it's very subtle, and then it catches up to you, and you go, oh, shit, like maybe I was wrong about that. And eating a lot of fruit doesn't exist in nature the way that we think it does. I mean, we've made a lot of it. We've hybridized it to be sweeter, even like corn and stuff like that. We've hybridized it to be sweeter. Not that they're bad things, but when we have these tastes for salt and sweet and things that would keep us looking for food in a natural world, when we first started 200,000 years ago. And now we have everything we want, and we're just like kids at the candy store. We go crazy. So when you eat that much fruit, and I'm guilty of it too. I eat sweets. I eat even though I eat clean natural food, I eat a modern diet. But we're talking about a diet that's out of balance. If I can make anything short today, I'm talking so much today.
No, I've had 16 peaches since yesterday, and I'm telling you, these peaches do not exist in nature. They're like...
Yeah.
The juiciest, most giant peaches. So it's not sustainable. 80-10-10 not good. Yay or nay? Like
highly athletic and with good elimination. Yeah, I think it could work just fine.
Forever?
I would suggest though that people do get some portion of that 80%. I would suggest they don't get it 100% from fruit. I would suggest that they get it from vegetables, either cooked carbs or something a little more slow releasing than just sugary fruits.
If Mike Perrine had to make a diet using three percentages, what would it be?
Well, I work with people on what's going on with them very specifically, but let me just guess at one. I would say, I don't know.
No, do it.
You know, basically the way I set it depends on how people eat too. I mean, I'll tell you what my diet's like. On a given day, I usually drink raw juices. Sometimes they're sweet, sometimes they're just pure green. Sometimes they're carrot or beet based, and then I eat a lot of fruits throughout the day. I don't know what percentage it is. I don't weigh it or anything like that, but it could be up to 40 or 50% of my calories. Some days I don't do anything except for drink water until 5 o'clock because I don't need to, and I still exercise on those days. And then in the evening, you know, I have a salad with some type of fat or protein in it. Generally, that's what I do. Sometimes, every now and again, if I just have eaten too many nuts or something and I don't want any more, I'll eat like a baked sweet potato or something like that, steamed vegetables. But, you know, it's always a salad and that at night. But I don't just like fruit all day. Definitely don't eat 30 bananas a day. Definitely don't make a Datorade with 30 to 60 dates in it and blend it. I just don't do that.
Good.
It sounds good for two. You know, it's like Peeps. Remember those little candies? Like, you know, the first bite when you're a kid, you're like, great. Then you eat 4 of them and you want to puke. That's the way it feels to me. It's just so much sugar. And even one of my days when I'm burning it really hard on the bike and stuff, like I just don't have cravings for that much sugar. I don't know why. That's why it's a head scratcher that what's happening in Australia over there. I just go, really? You really want to eat that much sugar? Because I've never known anyone to want to eat that much, and I've never personally wanted to consume that much sugar. I don't get it.
Okay, so one more question.
Yeah.
Quick question. Since we're talking about diets anyway, and there's two comments that I get. One is that everyone's different, so different diets work for different people. And it's not a one size fits all. The second one is we're not that different. We're all human beings descended from the same place, the same environment. So there are diets that will fit everybody and be healthy for everybody. And where do you weigh in on that?
I think the answer lies in the middle. There's definitely a physiological makeup that we all share, no matter who we are, no matter what part of the world we're in, and that favors plant food. Are there tweaks for individual people? Yeah, we come from very different lineages. I mean, you look at a lot of Africans and African Americans that don't digest dairy very well, or you know, it's that they come from cultures that never really adopted dairy, some of them. And when you look at certain people from the north, Northern Europe and stuff like that, they digest dairy a lot better than the average person, than the person that doesn't have that enzyme would.
But we're not so different in to say that one person that an Atkins diet would be ideal for them and the other person a vegan diet would be ideal for them.
No, I don't believe so. I think there's fine tuning and tweaks based on based on their lineage and based on their lifestyle now and based on how toxic they are when they start. Okay, how bad off their body is, things like that. But I do think that the general picture is plant-based and in very rare circumstances that people actually do need to eat animals, you know. But yeah, I think plant-based with a very small demand for animal food, if rarely, if ever. There's this video that a commercial that they keep playing. I watch Hulu a lot. I watch like shows on Hulu, and like they keep playing this video for this like home fitness program, and like there's this one trainer, and she's like leading like a group of people, you know, like they do the fitness videos with the people in the back, and like so she's like leading it, and they're showing a sample of it, and she's wearing like a half shirt, and you know she's got muscle and she's like in shape, but I could see that distended abdomen. She's totally constipated. She's just full of gas, and she's full of whatever, probably I'm making assumptions of people I don't know, which is silly, but I would bet that she's drinking a lot of protein and eating a lot of meat based on the way that gut looks, you know, and that.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and that's not going to serve somebody in the long term. But when you're eating that way and you're exercising all the time, it'll stimulate growth. You know, protein's going to stimulate human growth hormone. It's going to stimulate growth, and you're going to feel really good. But Dr. Borucki told me once all of his friends because he was a competitive lifter, he said all those guys are the best built people in the cemetery now. They didn't die at 30 years old, but like down the road, they died earlier than they needed to. The longevity wasn't there because they were just revving that machine. They were revving their engines so high and having to process all this stuff, and their body was constantly having to balance. And they looked great. They were very strong, and then organs started to fail later on. So to answer your question,
agree or disagree then? So there's tweaks, you're saying that there's tweaks that we can make to our diets as individuals depending on, where we were when we started, our background, et cetera, like our ethnic background, our whatever.
And ruling out people that don't understand detox.
Yeah.
Ruling out the people that don't understand that detox process we had talked about earlier. In very few cases, I think there's probably people that do need to eat some animal food.
Right, but we aren't so different as to say that something like the Atkins or the paleo diet would be right for one individual, and then a vegan or an 80-10-10 or fruitarian diet would be perfect for another individual. We aren't that different.
In my opinion, no. I think that certain people will handle them better than others. There are some people that probably would be able to handle more protein or something. Their bowels will keep up with that. They'll do a lot better. And then I've seen people that, eat like bacon and eggs in the morning, and they're exhausted. They're exhausted, bags under their eyes, and they get constipated. So there are people that might handle it a little better in the short term, depends on age. But there's so many variables, it's hard to say. The general physiology favors plants, though. And we all know that poisons need to be out of food. So everything should be organic. Not, we don't live in a perfect world.
And there's a big difference between tolerating and thriving. And I think that you could feel like you're thriving in the short term when, in fact, what you're really doing is tolerating it. And then over the long term is what you really have to look at. But unfortunately, we're all most of the people watching these videos are doing things in the short term. And short term even meaning, a few years. That's really not the big indicator. So you got to just play it on the safe side, I guess, like Dr. Borucki says, any doubt, leave it out.
And I tend to agree. Michael Pollan's famous quote. It's like, eat food, not too much.
Mostly plants.
Mostly plants. My thing is eat food, not too much, mostly or all plants.
I'm going to leave this on a fun fact about Michael Pollan. Do you know who his sister is?
No. Somebody we know?
She's Tracy Pollan, Michael J. Fox's wife.
Oh, really? Is that right? I had no idea.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I had no idea. I didn't know who Michael J. Fox's wife was. So
she was on Family Ties. She was a guest star. She played his girlfriend on Family Ties, and they've been married since then. But anyway, leaving you with that, we have one more video to make. I have one more topic, so we're going to get right into that after this short break when I dispose of my
banana peel.
We have lots more where this came from, including topics on veganism, health, and even recipes that you are surely going to love. So make sure that you sign up for my newsletter at BEXLIFE.com by clicking on your screen or by following the links in the video description. And also be sure to go over to everydaydetox.org and find my friend Mike Green and say hello. I will see you soon in another exclusive BEXLIFE video. Love you.